What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Harvey, and today I'm coming at you with some stuff that didn't necessarily come at me that last minute. I was reading at work last night, and I was listening to actually a message by another guy who was in First Samuel, which is where I'm going to be if you want to read First Samuel, and I just started reading from the beginning of First Samuel, and this kind of pointed out to me. I remember the story, but I never actually fully in-depth read the story, if that makes sense. And it just kind of really spoke to me. It stood out. It's about this woman named Hannah. I don't know if any of y'all know who Hannah is or what happened, but basically with Hannah, and this is basically the whole point I want to get across to everybody today, with Hannah is that she prayed until she got what she wanted. And you might say, well, what did Hannah want exactly? Well, Hannah wanted a son. She wanted a son. And, she kept praying for it. Her husband, where's the name at? Elkanah, I can't pronounce it, had two wives, okay? Hannah and another woman named Peninnah. I guess that's how you say it too, I don't know. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah didn't. Why? Because it clearly says that the Lord had shut up her womb, and that kind of discouraged her a little bit, because she's like, okay, it's obviously me, because if the same man that I'm married to, who's married to another woman, can have children, why can't I? And it discouraged her a little bit. I'm sure she did, but she continued to pray about it. She prayed and prayed and prayed until she finally got what she had been asking for. And the whole thing that I want to kind of basically hit on is that, are you still praying about it? I don't know what it is you've been praying and asking God about. I don't know nothing about your life, but I'm asking you, are you still praying about it? And the reason I'm asking is because had Hannah quit, I don't believe she ever would have got the son, because it says starting let's see here, in verse, actually just really all of Samuel chapter 1 all the way up until verse 20 rather, over and over again, you see where Hannah prayed about it. You'll see where Hannah just was honestly seeking God about what she desired, what she wanted to have so badly. And it says right here in verse 11, I'll read it to you, and it says, "And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his hand. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli, which was a priest," you'll see that earlier above these scriptures, that Eli marked her mouth, which means, I had to do a lot of searching on this. When he marked her mouth, that means he was just basically watching her mouth, because he couldn't hear her, as it says right here. It says in verse 13, "Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee." And, where she's been upset and stuff, she drunk, it didn't necessarily how many times, it just said she drunk with her husband, I believe is who it was. And he was like, how long are you going to keep drinking? How long are you going to keep drowning your sorrow in something that's not going to help? And in 15, it says, "And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord," lowercase l, because that's how people reference a priest, my Lord. I had to figure that out too. And "My Lord," lowercase l, "I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have poured out my soul before the Lord." So basically, she had prayed so much that her voice and her words couldn't come out. She didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of what to pray to God anymore. But her heart, everything was in her heart. She knew in her heart what she wanted, and God looks upon her heart, and He knew that's what she wanted. So I believe it doesn't necessarily say that this is what God did, but I believe that God quiet her mouth and just let her heart speak, because that's what will happen to us a lot of times. A lot of times we'll speak with this and overrun what our heart says. We'll speak out of our mouth first, not necessarily thinking what comes out, and shut up our heart and not let our heart speak for us at a lot of times. And I'm not saying that's bad when you're praying to let use your voice. I'm not saying that's bad at all. By no means am I saying that, because that's how I pray a lot of times, and I'm sure that's how a lot of you pray out there. But a lot of times we just need to let our heart speak, because we can't find the words to say. We can't find the things to tell God. We can't. And you think, well, I feel like I gotta tell him. Well, you don't have to tell him, because he looks upon our heart. He knows our heart. And sometimes that's all you have to do. If all you can do is just get on your knees and just, speak out of your heart. And you say, how do I do that? Well, trust me, when you're desperate for wanting something from God, and you just shut up your mouth and you're having your alone time with God, your heart will speak. And you'll know it's speaking. And you think, well, that's kind of weird. Well, trust me, it'll happen. You'll know when your heart is speaking for you, because you're wanting so bad to say something out of your mouth, but you can't. And then all of a sudden, it just starts coming out, not out of your mouth, but out of your heart. And you're just like, yes, that's what I want. That's what I need. Yes, God, that's please. You'll start just it'll all work out that way, and it's pretty neat. I actually love it. When sometimes I just can't get the words out, and I can't tell God enough my problem. I can't tell God, God, I'd love for this to happen, or God, I'd love for this, I'd like for that. Sometimes I just can't get it out, and it's so cool that how he doesn't go off our words, because if we went off our words, a lot of times we honestly probably and truly wouldn't get a lot of prayers answered, because we're not praying necessarily for what we need. We're praying out loud because it sounds good, or we just want to hear ourselves praying, if that makes any sense. But when our heart speaks, that's what God listens to. And I'm not saying, when you speak out of your heart, your mouth won't follow it. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, when you speak out of your heart, God really listens to that. And I know you're probably thinking, well, he's not going to hear me when I say, God, help me. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because in that time, when you're at a point where you just got to cry out, God, help me, your heart's speaking. That is your mouth following your heart, not your heart following your mouth. Because we can say stuff out of our mouth all we want to, and make our own selves believe that it's our heart speaking, when really it's not. Okay, that's one thing we got to be careful about when we're praying, instead of praying what we want and praying about what we need. Okay, and she kept praying about it. And number one, the first thing I noticed that happened was, it says over here, because she had been grieved this entire time. You'll see up until she prays this prayer right here that she's grieved, she's upset, she's tore up about it. And you'll read, let's see, I believe it is in mine. It's on the right hand of the page. I'm looking at it. Verse 18, it says, and she said, let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. So she prayed until, number one, she got peace about it. Okay? And as you notice in this prayer, she's not praying for her to have the child. She's praying for her handmaid to have a child, and that she, Hannah, will give it unto the Lord and basically treat it as her own. That's basically what she's getting at. To me, she's praying, okay, God, if I can't have it, give it to this person, and I'll treat it as if it's my own, and give it unto you, and no razor will come upon his head. And I believe the Lord saw that, okay, she's no longer wanting it for herself. She's wanting it for her handmaid, and she's gonna take care of it. And her handmaid, if most of y'all don't know, I had to look this up too. A handmaid is basically like a servant, okay? And the way I looked at it is, she prayed for her handmaid to have it, okay? And where her handmaid was doing work for Hannah, Hannah would be the one basically taking care of it. And I believe that's what she was basically trying to get at, like, my handmaid will be working, but if you give her that child, I'll take care of it, and I will do everything I can, because I want a child. It doesn't have to be my child. I just want to take care of a child. And I believe, that she's realizing, okay, I'm going to stop praying for myself to get one, but I'm going to pray for someone else to get it. She basically humbled herself, put herself aside, and started praying for someone else to get what she wanted. Okay, and that's hard for us to do a lot of times, is to put ourselves aside and to stop praying for what we want, but to pray someone else gets it. You know, like for instance, if you and your best friend, you might be praying for yourself to have a good relationship with a boyfriend and girlfriend, so on and so forth. But maybe you got to stop for a second, pray for your friend to get that, and just see how God works with that. Try it. You know, it doesn't hurt to try it by no means. And you think it's basically Hannah quit being selfish. Okay, that's what a lot of us need to do. We all need to quit being selfish. And I'm not saying it's not bad to pray for yourself sometimes. Don't get me wrong. You know, a lot of times, God, I need you to help me through this week. I need you to help me through this day. It's not bad to pray for yourself. But, you know, maybe you ought to try praying for someone else. If all you do is pray for yourself, then you can consider yourself selfish. Because if that's all you pray about, it doesn't matter what else is going on in your friend's life, your family's life. If all you pray about yourself and what you want, then you're selfish. Okay? And I'm not saying that out of hate. I'm not saying that out of anger. I'm saying that out of love, because maybe someone out there, that's all they've been praying for is themselves. And they're getting a little bit selfish. They're seeing other things, basically what they want to other people. You know, Hannah's seen this other wife of her husband having children, but she couldn't have any. But she still prayed for herself. And the devil will do that, you know, and matter of fact, God will even do it sometimes, trying to get you to humble yourself. I'm not going to talk about the devil. God will do that sometimes to get you to humble yourself. He will make you stop being selfish. And not necessarily in a mean way, but just because we can't be selfish. Okay? I can't remember exactly where it's at right now, and it doesn't say it word for word, but it says, if you see someone in need, give them to them. And I remember that the best way, I was in 7th grade, and my social studies teacher told me, we somehow managed to get on that topic, and he goes, it's just like if you see someone in class needing a pencil, and you have one, and you tell them you don't, not only is that lying, but it's selfish. Because you've got what they have need of, and you're not going to give it to them. And that's stuck with me for so long. That's how I've always remembered that. You know, and it came to me a lot of times in class too, when someone would be needing a pencil and I've got a whole pocket full, and that would ring in my head. You know, a lot of times I would react on impulse and say, no, I don't, and then I go back and look, and I remember I have a bunch of pencils, and it rings in my head that I had what they had need of, and I didn't give to them. And it stuck with me. You know, you think, oh, it's just a pencil. Well, God can really take a little thing and bug you about it. Even if it's just a little tiny lie to get out of work, even if it's just a tiny lie to your mom and dad, tiny lie to this person, that person, God won't really, if you're really trying to live for God, He won't let you forget it. No matter how little you think it is big in God's eyes. And so basically, bringing everything back together, I got sidetracked on that for a little bit. But she got peace about it after she had prayed about it and sought God about it, sought Him so much that her words were no longer doing any good. She had to speak out of her heart. She got peace about it. And then on down in 20, it says, wherefore it came to pass when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of the Lord. So basically, now what I'm getting, Lord's brought this to my attention. With Hannah, she was started out as selfish, praying only for herself, wanting to have a son. She prayed for her handmaid, her servant, to get a son. She quit being selfish. She put self aside and prayed for someone else to get what she wanted. And in this situation, it doesn't say the handmaid wanted a child. It doesn't say the handmaid wanted this or that. But she wanted a son. She said, okay, God, if you've shut up my womb, then let someone else have it, and I'll treat it as my own. I just want a son to take care of and train him up in the way that he should go. Because you think, well, how do you know how she was going to trade it? Well, it says, I will give him, in verse 11 it says, and I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life. So she was planning to raise him as a godly mother and raise him up as a godly child, because that's what, if God gives you something, you got to keep it in God. She granted him a child, and she named him Samuel because the Lord gave him to her. God gives you anything. I advise you, as much as I can stress, you better take care of it. You better thank God for it. And you better keep whatever it is in, around God, however you want to put it. You better keep God in what He gave you. Whether it be a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend, whether it be a job, whether it be a car. If God gives you something, you better find some way to keep God in it. If it's a car, even if it's just a little cross to hang up in there to remind yourself that this is God's car, do it. If it's, praying with your significant other, or praying for your significant other, or just simply saying, hey, I thank God for you, find some way to keep God in what you've got and what He gave you. Because if you don't, He can easily have it taken away. If you are not going to give Him thanks for it, He can easily take it back. Because it's not ours, it's all God's. That's why I said if God gives you something, He had to have possession of it first before you can have it. And if you don't take care of it, if you don't give God acknowledgement for it, if you don't thank God for it, if you don't keep God associated with it the best you can, He can easily take it back if He so pleases. So, because, I know I talk about this a lot, but this is just how the Lord gave it to me. It's just like our life. He gave us our life. He put us inside our mothers and gave us this life. He could easily take us out if He wanted to. If He sees that if we're just basically shunning Him, putting Him away. Okay? And a lot of times He may not have to take us away. Alright? He might take someone else away. He will wake you up. Okay? I've heard my preacher say it plenty of times. God's only got to deal with you once. Okay? To get you saved, get you right, and get you on track. Okay? And you might think, well, I don't believe that. Well, think about it. If He didn't give everybody at least one chance to get saved, it would be unfair. God is all about, being... I don't want to say He's all about being fair, because a lot of stuff, to an extent, isn't fair. But it's all working out for God's glory. Okay? And it's just one of the mysterious ways God works. And, it's just something to think about. Something that you don't want to overlook. God gives you something. I recommend highly that you stay in it. If He gives you a job, you stay in it and somehow do work. Whether it's while you're working, sing a song about Him, or pray about it. Thank God for your job. Okay? And a lot of times if Hannah, I honestly believe that, I won't reference Hannah, I'll talk about us. We as humans, when we want something, we immediately, a lot of us pray to God about it, a lot of us do. And the minute we get it, we get excited, and we forget who gave it to us. We get the big head, so to speak. We get boastful because we finally got what we've been asking for. And we forget to give thanks to which it belongs and to where it came from. That's why we need to humble ourselves and not get too excited that we got something before, it's like this, and a lot of y'all will laugh about it, but this is one of the ways that God works and the way He taught me to be humble. In fantasy football this season, I was playing Tanner, and I beat him, and I know I didn't really pray for a win in fantasy football because it's not that important to me if I win or lose. But I got excited. As soon as church was over, I was still in church. I checked the fantasy score, and I was ahead by what I thought was enough that I couldn't be beat. I started bragging about it. I started boasting to Tanner. I even sent him a picture of the letter L and sent to him on his phone while we were still at church. You know, church service was over. Don't think I was doing that in church. But church service was over, and before the night was over, the last game, you know, he beat me, and it taught me to really be humble and to not brag about something before it's all said and done with. Like if you see God's working and doing something, and you know what you've been asking for is about to come to pass, don't, you know, absolutely get the big head. Don't forget that God is giving it to you and God is making a way for you. Because a lot of times we'll say, oh man, you know, I went and got this car, I got enough money, I managed to get enough money, and I've got it. When really, God might have gave you a raise and just enough time for you to go get that car, so you had enough money to get that car. But you're forgetting where you got your raise from. You got it from God. So it just really pays to be humble. Don't get the big head, and don't forget where you got it from. It's kind of it for the day. I know I started out, and the title of this is Are You Still Praying? Basically, read 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 20. That's all the way where I've been reading for about this. If you want to know more about Hannah and the prayer, she ended up giving birth to Samuel. That's kind of, you know. But it's a good read. I enjoyed it. And I believe God brought it to my attention. Instead of to start where that preacher was last night when I was at work, instead of starting where he was at, while he was preaching, I went back and started reading. I started in Samuel, and instead of, that's just where God kind of, I want to start at 1 Samuel. So here I am, and this is what it did. So just read it, enjoy Hannah, because we need to be like her. We need to pray until we get what we've been asking for. And even if we don't ever get what we've been asking for, God will take our prayer and use it to give us our hearts, to fulfill the desires of our heart. It may not be exactly what you wanted, but the desires of your heart will be fulfilled. So yeah, just take all that into thought. I love all y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. The ones that did, the ones that commented on Facebook. Hunter Buddy, I love you too. Anybody that'll comment on here later, that's fine. I don't think there's no big announcements coming up. Me and Tanner haven't been asked to preach anywhere. Keep in mind about being prayed for my family. God's managed to make a way for us to most likely get a house, a new double wide. It's nice, it's beautiful. God, I believe, is making ways, and we're getting closer and closer, and I thank Him for that. So keep us in your prayers. But even if something downfalls and we don't, you know, God's still in control. God's going to take care of us. God's going to supply every bit of our needs. Keep me in your prayers as I do this, as I try to be used by God every Friday or whenever I can do this to be a help unto people. You know, if you need prayer or anything, DMs are always open. Numbers, text, snap, whatever. You're more than welcome to say something. I won't tell nobody. You can use the app in my bio, the link in my bio, to submit it anonymously if you want to. If not, you know, God knows your heart. He knows what you're seeking after. Even if you don't pray or ask other people to pray about it, you can still pray about it and get just as much work done. All right. I love all y'all. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoy. Yeah, I believe that's it. That's all I got for this week. Love y'all. God bless y'all.